Hey, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuits. Good morning, everybody. Saturday morning, and my wife had this idea, Mrs. Doom. She said, "Hey, Doom, husband Doom. I know you've been wanting to clean your shop, and you were going to do that before you ran out to check on one of your sites. But maybe you should start making all the monsters out of the monster manual." So I grabbed the 3.5 monster manual, the base one, which is my favorite, and I opened it to page 1, and the first thing was an Aboleth. I have never run an Aboleth. And the thing with Aboleths is they're kind of like funky and weird. So we're going to need some different parts if we're going to make an Aboleth. The first thing is the Aboleths are 20 foot long, right? So that's 4 inches. And they're considered size huge because of this, right? So what we want to do is we want to get a body going for our Aboleth. So what I thought I was going to do here is get like a 3-inch stick. And use it as a base to wrap my tinfoil in. And start from there. So their bodies are kind of torpedo shaped with a long, instead of like a normal like fish tail, they have kind of like a longer tail. And then that tail has a fin at the end of it. So I thought I would try to use something like this to get that started. So we don't want our Aboleth to be like this, like flat torpedo shape though. We want it to be kind of posed in a way. So what I did was I snapped, well, what I did, I'm doing it as we speak. I'm snapping this stick up. And then because it's size huge, it should be on a 4-inch base. But I don't feel like something this small of a model really needs that. So what I've decided to do is to not do a 4-inch base. I've decided that is not realistic or needed. So I'm just kind of getting another layer of tinfoil here to wrap this guy up. We're going to straighten him back out just to get this on here. It says they weigh up to 6,500 pounds, or about 6,500 pounds, and that seems pretty intense. That's like, I don't think they, like when they wrote this, I don't think they realized how big that is. Like, that's like a car. A 4-foot long fish that's relatively skinny with 4 tentacles, and it looks like a car. Alright, so let's get our shape back going again. I'm going to turn that hot glue gun on while we're doing this. And then they have kind of an open mouth situation. And I didn't see any teeth in any of the images I looked at. Doesn't mean they don't have any. So they have 3 eyes on a ridge up here. I'm not sure how we're going to capture that beautifully. They have like breathing holes on the side over here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do something like that because I'm just not that talented. They have a fin on their back. Let's get something like that cut out. Let's see. And this fin didn't look, it looked kind of like jagged and beat up. Probably could have printed a reference image. But I did not. I instead need a base. What do we have for bases here? I got poker chips out the wazoo. These cheapy Dollar Tree ones are nice for this kind of stuff, for sure. Yep. Of course, I poked myself already. Why not? So since it's an underwater creature, what you kind of want to do for something like this is you want to have it be elevated. So you need like a stick or something. And I'm guessing we want to be about 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch off the base. Where'd I put my fin? Oh, there's my fin. So let's get a stick. Oop. Pushed into him at about the right height. Let's get that on there pretty good. Now I think we're going to need a good bit of hot glue on this guy because we don't want him to look too much like tinfoil. Let's get something going here with this base first. Let me get... Actually, that would have been smarter to do. Okay, we're going to pull that off there. What we're going to do is this. We're going to get this on here like that. And then we're going to use some basing materials with super glue and whatnot to firm that up. So let's let that sit for a moment. We don't want that in the center. I changed my mind. We want that off center so it'll support his weight better. Yeah, something like that. All right, so let's get this on a base, get an idea what it's going to look like. So some of the base notes I have on the Aboleth is that it's got a pink belly. It is like super evil and knows like a bunch of old secrets because whenever an Aboleth is born, it has the memories and knowledge of its parent. So anything it eats, also it gains that knowledge too. It assimilates that knowledge into its function bin of madness. So these guys are pretty smart. They have psionic abilities as well. And their psionic abilities are generally enchantment kind of stuff where they create images for you to see and then try to get you to believe in those images. So let's get some super glue and a cheap piece of cardboard here. And let's talk about how we're going to do up this base nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread this super glue around to the edges. I'm going to drag some of it up onto this stick part. Okay. I'm going to set that off to the side and get some baking soda. And that's going to sturdy up to an extent, I'm guessing. And I'm going to get a couple pebbles. Let's make some. Let me get some. I'm just getting a toothbrush and wiping off excess baking soda here. Let's get a couple pebbles. Now these live in subterranean areas, so that means like underground caves and stuff. So we're just going to get some glue and dibble dabble that around. They can crawl on land even though they're aquatic, but apparently they have a deep hatred for non-aquatic creatures. And they have the reproductive organs of both male and female, which makes them pretty comfortable to live by themselves, I'm guessing. Nope, got some glue on my hand there. Alright, so if they're comfortable living by themselves and they can reproduce by themselves, they lay 1 to 3 eggs every so often or something like that. And they don't need you or anybody else to reproduce. It stands to reason that these guys are pretty dangerous. They have all this knowledge, and everybody they eat feeds into that knowledge. If they reproduce, their kid is even smarter because he gets that knowledge plus any knowledge of what he's going to eat. These are definitely not your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man kind of enemies. Alright, so get some more flock on there just to add a little more weight to the base, I'm thinking. I'd like to actually get another little bit more. And this is just like a bigger kind of sand. This is sand from the beach, from Presque Isle up in Erie. Free sand, my favorite kind of sand. And that's gonna, that super glue is gonna hold that on there good. So we need to get him on this base sturdied up. So let's get some glue and drag it along that stick and then up onto the model just to kind of get him locked in. And that is not doing what I want at all. Alright, so let's get some of this stupid glue and try that same thing. Okay. Stupid glue will hold it. Alright. So, yeah, it's going to hold it better. I've got some spider webs here. Yeah, super glue is flammable, by the way, if you didn't know. So, we got to get that, where's his, I made a fin. I had a fin. Oh, I lost the fin. Alright. We are in a state of finlessness here. No worries, dudes. We'll make a new fin. We'll make it out of this plastic sitting here. So he's got the big dorsal fin. And then he's got and when I was looking at the picture, these fins reminded me of like a Siamese fighting fish, I think, if I remember correctly. A beta, which means like they're not perfect. They're like jagged and ripped up. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to achieve that effect without looking at a picture. I guess I know exactly how I'm going to achieve it the best I can. Alright, I got something like that, and then there's a couple pieces where I made it a little flat on the end, so I'm just going to make a little divot, cut out the tip of that. And then we want this to bend around, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of glue on that, And I'm going to bend it to the shape and stick it in place and hold it for a moment while it settles. Something like that. And relocate that a little bit. Now that fin is sitting kind of wonky, but I think that as fish swim around and stuff, their fins do get a little silly looking at times. I don't think it's uncommon for a fish's fin to bend. I don't know. I've done some fishing in my day. It's not for about 20-something years. Something like that. Now they have 4 tentacles. So we need to make those tentacles. We could do it out of tinfoil, or we could do it out of wire, or we could do it out of whatever. I think I'm just going to use some of this fine wire I have here. So the tentacles have a disgusting slime they secrete. And what that slime's deal is that if it hits you, you have to roll a save, or it's going to turn you into a gross creature with translucent skin, and you would lose like natural armor bonuses and stuff because of this. So I want these to be shapeable, and I want them to have some kind of texture to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a small piece of whatever this stuff is, tinfoil, and I'm going to wrap that stick in there. And this is just a thin little piece of like aluminum cable or wire or something. It's like maybe for holidays and such. And I'm just going to get that going. Get it twisted in there. And I'm going to try to make it tight as I go. And then this is going to give us the ability to twist it around and catch some good shapes with it. So what it says is this stuff there is a save and everything for it, but this stuff is pretty nasty. So what we're going to do, something like that. All right. I'm going to get that in there. We're going to do the same thing on this side. We're just going to kind of wrap that up. A little bit too long. Alright, so we have the first 2 tentacles on. Now we're going to need to get those a little more sturdy because this is tinfoil and it will come loose. So I'm just going to drag some glue around that mounting point, down the arm and onto the body in different spots. Let's try to get that on there good. Also, any weird spots that you have where it's like sticking up or the foil didn't sit well, grab those too and kind of mush those around so they stay down. sturdying that up. Got a weird gap over here I kind of want to fill. Let's get that filled in. Let that solidify for a little bit and start on the next tentacles. So the first set of tentacles sits higher than the second set, but I believe they all have the same kind of disgusting mucus thing, slime. And then on the bottom side of the aboleth, I forgot to talk about this. They have like a little holes where they can shoot mucus out of in that like soft, disgusting pink area. And that mucus makes the person who breathes it in has to make saves, or they can only breathe water for like 3 hours. And I'm like, what a weird mechanic. What a special and different kind of thing. I don't run these as a habit. I don't think they're very good general use enemies, and I don't have a miniature of one. But, man, I'll tell you what. They are unique and different in a lot of cool ways. And they're on the first page. Where have I been? I've been sleeping on these aboleths. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to start getting that tentacle situated. And remember, you don't want your tentacles to end up touching off the base. You want to make sure they're elevated enough to stay off that base. All right, let's get this one wrapped up. Just wrapping them up. And once you get them good and wrapped up, then you tighten up that twist. Now, it might have been easier to use like some snakes like this, or the tails of lizards like that. Here's that snake. It might have been easier to use that kind of stuff to achieve these tentacles. But I know that not everybody has the same stuff I have laying around. So if I can build it from scratch relatively quick, I think that's the plan. Just so everybody can make the same kind of idea. Now on this monster manual series I'm starting here, where I'm starting, this is just page 1 of the monster manual. First monster, I shouldn't say page 1. But on this series, I will try to do, unless it comes to like humanoid races and stuff, or we're going to have to convert a mini or something. And here's another thing. If there's already a mini for something, I can't imagine that it helps us to build another mini of it. All right? Like, that's just the reality there. Like, if there's already orcs, we're not going to build an orc. We might kit bash something else into an orc, like a HeroClix or something, but we're not going to build an orc from just scratch, because I'm not that good. All right, we're starting to get the base shape for our aboleth. And remember, these tentacles can drag it along the ground at a speed of 10 foot per turn. And it can swim at 60 foot per turn. So these guys are, they're doers. They're going to come after you, even if you get out of the water. They're going to try to chase you. So I'm just using these little. You can use whatever you want. You can even cut little punch outs with a hole puncher. But what I'm doing is using these little pieces from these jewel paintings my wife does. And I'm using these little jewel painting pieces to make the 3 eyes. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a dab of super glue on my cardboard over there. And I'm going to dip that in there. And I'm going to seat these eyes on here. Okay. On there. Oh, hell. Got it all flipped upside down. Of course I did. You pecker. All right. Let's grab another one. Try it again. Let's let this sit for a second because I have a suspicion that I'm gonna need to make some adjustments right here with some hot glue. And I am. Look at that. See that gap? It's too much big. So I just want to kind of rub that along and fill that in some. Let's get another one of these little eyeballs. So if you don't know what gem paintings are, they are essentially these little, it's like a fabric of some sort, it's not like regular paper, it's like a cloth or something, and it has little dots on it, and then it shows you what color dot to put there, and then you get these different color dots. Like these ones just happen to be blue because those are the ones I have, but it shows you what color dot to use, and then it I don't know, makes it dotty. No, you put the colors on there, it makes a painting. So it could be like a golem from Lord of the Rings or an ocean or whatever it may be, dude. It's just different stuff. So now I want to drag this along and try to break up a little bit of the fact that this is just tinfoil. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we do need some more fins yet still. 2 semi-symmetrical fins, which is like the real kicker. Let's see if we can't reinforce this body with some more glue real quick. Get this on here a little gooder. Let that kind of run down and solidify. That's wiggling way too much, so when we start to paint it, that's going to be a problem. All right, let's get that piece of plastic I made the other 2 fins out of, and let's make a couple more fins. So what I want to do, since I'm kind of going for like a symmetrical look for my fins, is I'm going to cut out a square. I'm going to cut it in half. Sticky up part there. And I'm just going to get a pair of scissors and try to cut them in a similar shape. So looking at them now, this would be like on either side how they're mounted. So let's rough them up to make them look kind of like a beta or whatever. This is a nice little Saturday morning craft. I wish I wasn't on a time crunch. I do have to go to, I get called in. I got to go to work for something today. It's only going to be for a few hours, maybe. That's all right. I like what I do. I do not like to go in on weekends, but the little boys are out of town this week. And the big boys will be here later this evening. Tell you what, having 4 sons, coming back and having kids after your kids are almost grown up it's a culture shock, dudes. You know, you're at the point where you're about to say, oh, we can run around the house naked, and then you're like, oh, we can't run around the house naked. You know, it's kind of weird and funny at the same time. Okay. So we need these kind of back in this area. So we're going to have to carve these a little bit to help with that shape we lost. There, something like that. And then this one might be okay. That looks kind of flat in there. Yep, I think that one's going to be okay. I'm a little off camera here. Let me get my guy back in. All right. So there's the beginnings of our Aboleth. we're starting to look okay. If you like what we're doing here on the Dungeons and Doom Biscuit channel, I really appreciate that. I did this as a hobby for fun for years and years and years, and I decided I wanted to show people how cheap you can be and how cheap I am. And I don't know if that's a fair statement of how cheap I am, because I can be a little weird at times with my spending, but most of the time I'm pretty cheap. Do a lot of like looking at the Dollar Trees and Five Belows and all these bargain worlds and stuff like that, and say, could I make this into this for $1? You know, kind of $1 is my like top end on a mini about this size. And since I didn't really need money for the Aboleth, you know, he's kind of a good deal. He's kind of a freeform build. He didn't really cost anything except for some tinfoil, you know. So I'm just reinforcing underneath these joints, make him sturdy. Still not super happy with the way his he's wobbling on that base, so we're going to come back and try to tighten him up some more with that so he doesn't wiggle as bad. Well, now he's just free spinning, you damn you. Alright. Let's let that cool down and sit. I feel like his tail could have been longer, but like I said, the entry says they're 4 inches long, so that's 20 foot long, so that's 4 inches. So he's just a little bit over that. You know, here's a regular mini next to him. You got to figure a mini's about an inch, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just a smidge past. So this would be your 6,500 pound, 20 foot Aboleth next to a dude. And I say 6,500 pound jokingly, because there's no way. I mean, how would it even? When you skin a fish, there's a lot of empty cavity space inside there. You know, it's not. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just gonna get the lighter, kind of get rid of some spider webs real quick and see where we're at. All right, so I think that we should get a cheap brush and some super glue and kind of paint onto this some and give it a little bit of texture. So if your brush is a little bit damp, like this one was, and you use super glue, those lines will actually have a little bit of yaw when they dry. And this is not a master class on painting, by the way. I am not a great painter or anything like that. I'm just a dude in my basement making some garbage and a nicer garbage. Alright, so because we want him to be sturdy, and I'm super paranoid right now about how sturdy he's going to be, I'm just going to get some more super glue into some of these spots, like around his eyes and stuff, where his tentacles hook up along his tail here and on those fins. Oh, I think I already got those fins. Alright, and I'm just going to get a brush, another cheap throwaway brush. One of them plastic ones would be ideal for this. And I'm just going to get that everywhere and get a coating on him of some sort to kind of protect him, because I'm not sure how good he's going to do without that. So I just want him to be sturdy and safe. Now I have a fan going in here. If you do not have a fan and ventilation going, if you like, I craft a lot. I kind of know what I need to keep myself safe. If you can smell the super glue too strong, if you can smell it a little bit, that's kind of normal. But if you can smell it too strong, hey, you need to get some ventilation going, because this can knock you out. This can, it doesn't suck the oxygen out of there. I shouldn't say it does that, but it can make it hard for you to breathe correctly and get the right amount of oxygen. And it's important that you don't do that, okay? All right, so we got him pretty good. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to let him sit. We're going to let him dry off. And then I'm going to hit him with a primer from a rattle can. and we'll come back and paint him. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really do appreciate it. This is the Aboleth, and when I'm painting him, I think we'll talk about how you run him more in combat, and then I'll do a short on that after I get the thumbnail. But this is my take on the Aboleth, and he doesn't look bad. For a no-dollar miniature, yeah, I'm happy. So we'll see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.